Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And in this one, we're going to go through what good injector data looks like. This seems to be a really common thread recently where people are buying injectors or trying to use injectors that just flat out do not work. And I need to do a little bit of an explanation as to why this is and how this whole deal works. So most common, actually, we'll start here. We'll start with a Gen 5, okay? So when it comes to the 2014 to basically current Generation 5 LT stuff, you really don't have much in the way of aftermarket injectors, okay? So when it comes to this stuff, all of the trucks and the cars, if it's an LT1, meaning it's naturally aspirated, they have pretty much the same injector, okay? So all of this stuff is the same. The flow rate, the fuel pressure multipliers, the offsets, the short pulse adders. The only other one is really like this, a hold high and hold low current. Those are the main ones that you are going to go after. But if you have an LT1 truck or a car, this stuff stays the same. If you decide to go to a bigger injector on one of these cars, where you're likely going to land is doing an LT4 setup. Let me see if I have one of those. Looks like I do. Oh, I don't have my NPVI unit hooked up. But you can see here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so you can see here that this file, this 5.3 2015 truck versus a ZL1, which is an LT4 car. You can see these injectors flow significantly more. And also when you click on like your fuel pressure multipliers, okay, a couple things change. You'll notice that the scale changes, okay, and for good reason. These are performance cars versus the truck, and the multipliers are different, okay? So when swapping to an LT4 injector and a high pressure pump, mainly the injector, you would change these tables. You would also change the enabled delay, as well as the hold high and low current, and in one of these cars, if you want to go to a bigger injector, fuel injector connection makes an FIC plus 30 injector, which adds a little bit more flow. But a lot of guys, don't need to go that direction. Okay. So, when it comes to the Gen 5 stuff, it's just much more simple in injector world. But a lot of you guys are not playing with this Gen 5 stuff just yet. You're playing with some of the older stuff. So if we go to a Gen 4, you've got several different Gen 4 computers. You have an E40, you have an E38. Okay, so a lot of you guys, maybe you're running, hold on one second, we'll go to this 2007 4.8 Silverado file. Okay, so let's say, go right here. Let's say that you're using a 2007, an 8 or a 9 Silverado. Okay, and let's check our computer system here. Come up here, it's an E38. Now, if we come in here and we pay attention to our scale, this is of our flow rate, versus pressure table. Okay, this is one of about a half a dozen tables that you're going to change. Notice the scaling, 128 to 640, and notice the pressure delta. It's not underlined, so we can't click on this and edit this. Okay, and same thing for the rest of this stuff. Okay, if we come in here, offset versus ignition volt versus mat versus ignition volts, the scale out to here is, I believe, 640. Okay, so let's say that you came into some 2010 SS Camaro injectors and you want to plug those in. Okay, you'll notice here that when you go to compare these, the scaling is now 128 to 768. Okay, and while some people might do this, they might get away with this, this is not something that is recommended. Okay, so if you want to go to a bigger injector and you only have the 640 or the 638 scale or whatever it is, then you need to source an injector, usually which is going to be outside of a price range you're willing to spend to make that work. Another one, if we come down here to again, another one is this offset versus pressure versus ignition volts. Look at the scaling, 640 as opposed to 768. You are taking a huge gamble trying to import this data and squeeze it in and make it work. Even if we go to the short pulse adder, looks like the scaling is the same on this, so the data would work, but there again, this flow rate versus pressure and this offset table versus ignition volts is going to be pretty important. So some of the scales are going to be the same, so the data would work, but again, you would be hard pressed to want to use that. Okay, so now let's go to, and it would go the same way if you had, I don't know why you would do this, but if you had a 2011 Camaro, you would not be able to put truck injectors in there. That would just not work. So it's just something for you guys to consider. If we come down here to this 2012 Z06 LS7 file, we can kind of see here what our scaling is, but it's going to be, it's 768. So if you had an LS3 car and you had that 768 scaling, you could put an LS7 injector, or an LS9 injector in there and you'd be okay. If we come back over here and we go to our Gen 3 tab, and let's pick this 2000 Silverado 5.3. This is probably a P01 operating system. Go up here and look. These are a little bit more forgiving, the scale doesn't typically change. Let's go to a P50, let's compare a P59 computer and see how that works out. So you can see here that while these are different, and there's obviously far less tables than a Gen 4 or Gen 5, which isn't terrible, but you can see here the scaling, while it's not editable, it is the same. So let's just go through these real quick. Scaling is still the same. The data is different, obviously. It's a different injector. I believe this 2004 Yukon was a flex fuel truck, so the injectors are going to be different. But yeah, there you go. Scaling still the same. Short pulse adder, 401 is, scaling is going to be the same. So you can see here, this is a 25 pound an hour injector versus a 33 pound an hour injector. So, if you looked up these part numbers, from a 2000 to a 2004, you could identify which these are. And if you did a camshaft or, some ported cylinder heads or exhaust or, something, or a big converter, and you were really winging this thing out, you would be able to upgrade to these injectors. The most popular injector to go to for a naturally aspirated setup is going to be, and the one that I always recommend to you guys is going to be this 1261 3412, which is the 2010, 11, 12, 50 pound an hour flex fuel injector. When you guys buy injectors, if it doesn't look like this, obviously this is a Gen 4 injector from a Denali truck that has been converted. Somebody somewhere has come up with the spreadsheet to convert this. One of the older guys that's much older and wiser that's made this easy on us. This is going to be one that we recommend. You can see here it's a 50 pound, right there. It's a 50 pound injector. This one has the deadheaded or the returnless, style data versus the return style data, which is down here. Another popular upgrade is the 1256 6341. This one I believe is only like 43, so like 41, 42 pound an hour. There again, if you had these, this would work. So if you had a Gen 3 vehicle, this would be the route that you would want to go. Okay, so you have to get tunes from your repository and you have to check them out. Okay, I've got one here where a customer had a 2008 Silverado where it has the odd scaling, but he wanted to use those 1261 3412s. So when I pull this up, if I have anyone that has this odd truck scaling, I can use this data and it's been made to fit correctly. Okay, and I ended up getting this data from somebody again who's much older and much wiser. But also too, when you guys buy injectors, come over here to our injector tab, you can see here, if we come down here to injector dynamics, okay, and let's say we're going to use their ID thousands, okay, it's in the hptuners format. Okay, you'll notice here, this is what good injector data looks like. And injector dynamics is hands down, probably one of the best ones, okay? But you notice here, it has your short pulse adder, okay? And you can get these for the different operating systems, okay? Whether it's a Gen, I believe this is a Gen 3, pretty sure. We'll know when we look at yeah, this is for a Gen 3 setup. But you can see here that this has the different, for the different axes on this side, you're going to pay, here we go. So this one does have 640. This is Gen 4 scaling, so you would look at your up and down axes versus your left and right. So this has E38 and E40 768, okay. There you go. You come over here to your flow rate. Okay, and it even allows you to scale it, depending on what you're going to do. Okay, so 0 to 80, that's going to be a Gen 3. If we come down here, these are some oddballs in here. We come down here with the ones that start with 128. These are going to be Gen 4 scalings. Okay, so, and you would copy and paste like we've shown you before. Put these in your file. If we come back to another one, I think I even got a different section here. Yeah, so this one even has it separated, the E67. I forgot about those. This even has it if you've switched your fuel system up. So that's something to consider as well. If we come back here, Fuel Injector Clinic is another one that has good injector data. Let's go to their 525s. I don't think any DeechWorks injectors, but those are another good one to use there. Again, it even tells you up here what ECU to use, okay? You scroll down and it'll have all the data that you need. You just have to match up your axis points. So this seems to be one lately where people will say, oh, well, I have an LSA injector, and you ask, if you don't have the part number, then it's no good. You have to have the part number in order to make it work. And so when someone says, oh, I have a 40-pound, LSA injector, that you have no idea what that data is, what it does, how it does, any of it. So, same thing when you buy an injector. If the injector company does not provide you with this spreadsheet, you do not need to be buying those injectors. So just keep that in mind when you guys are coming across, injectors lately where they are a good deal or whatever. You need to reach out to me or someone and see if you can make sure that you have the appropriate spreadsheet. Otherwise, even though you're getting it for free, a lot of you guys that are doing swaps or various things, you're having to use different fuel rails and regulators and spacers and all this stuff, only come to find out that the injectors that you thought were good, they're not actually going to fit, not without more modification. So if you have any questions about this stuff, if you want any of this data, I've purchased, some of this data already. And so if you would like to get your hands on this, let me know and just reach out to me. And appreciate you guys watching. If you have any comments or questions, comment down below. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.